some of y'all don't know who he is. Some of y'all already do. He's an athlete. He was literally where you guys are, many of you, just a few months back. He didn't know me from Adam. He was, you know, he had zero experience. He had zero passive income coming in from any of this stuff. But he had big, a big why and a lot of vision, right? And ready to put the work in. Right? He was ready to put the work in. Like, tell me why, what is this really about for you?
Mainly, I'll be honest, ever since I became a professional, I was always on a team with one guy who's 36, 37, 38, trying to squeeze out a couple more years of basketball, right? Just because they haven't, number one, did things with their money that they were supposed to, save, increase whatever one needs to do. Or they really didn't make a lot of money. I'm fortunate enough to where I make a decent amount every year, so it's not really about that for me. But I tell people this all the time, like I know eventually the ball is gonna stop bouncing. So like I just want to be ahead of the curve.
Mm.
And I also want to give myself the option to walk away gracefully, if I choose to. So yeah, it's a lot. I have a lot of dreams and goals as far as, giving back to my community and things like that. I have a pretty big following. And yeah, man, I want to be able to give back because I didn't have that. I know there's a lot of guys that are like me who don't have fortunate situations like me, to be able to go to like the schools that I went to and things like that. So if I could help in any way, like that's my long term. When I do that, I feel like, all right, I made it in life. Like, you know what I mean? But um, up until then, I'm just trying to figure out, what ways can I don't know, really just use my skill set that I've learned over the past couple of years, as far as entrepreneurship and things like that. And I tried real estate Airbnb, and it could get a little tricky as far as, capital and involving banks and things like that. So what really opened my eye when you said, in the Airbnb field, but without owning property, and that I really just want to know, like, how do I do that?
I want to introduce you to Chris Ortiz. Chris, brother, could you first just tell us a little bit about what you do, where you're at, and then I got a few questions I want to ask to kind of have you answer to give some people a bit of perspective as to what you're doing, and I think it'll help.
Yeah, definitely. So, my name is Chris Ortiz, originally from New York City. I'm a professional athlete. I've been playing basketball overseas since about like 2016.
Let's go.
Um, Currently in Puerto Rico, so that's where I spend most of my time these days. And yeah, that's really it about who I am for
Awesome.
now.
Awesome. Awesome. Tell us, how many listings do you have?
I want to say maybe 6 or 7, I believe.
6 or 7? And that's including duplicates?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So he's got about 6 or 7 listings, so you got about 6 or 7 listings, and they're in Puerto Rico, right?
Yes.
So, and some of these questions I know, but I'm just trying to give you some perspective. So, how long have you had those listings?
Maybe 4, maybe 5 weeks.
4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And how long did it take for you to acquire the place? How did you get it? Did you buy? Did you lease? What did you do?
So I'm actually renting the place that I have right now. I'd say it took about once I started the process of like 10 a days and things like that, I'd say at most like 2 weeks.
2 or 3 weeks. I was sharing the story about being in the weeds and value of time and money. And I was sharing the story about keeping it simple and why it's so important. Did any of that resonate with you during your process of picking up your first place? And if so, tell us how.
It literally all applied for me. In the beginning, once we got started, the same thing you've been saying this whole webinar, keep it simple, keep doing what works. Don't try to, do my own thing and, stray away from, your teaching. And that worked. Um, I would say that, that wasn't the property I have now wasn't the first one I saw. I did put some work in and see some other properties before that. But But yeah, it was like it wasn't too taxing on my time or even mentally. All I did was just do what I do every day and just be coachable, you know. I know that has gotten me success in other areas of my life, and I knew that would be no difference here because, you know, success principles apply everywhere.
Mm.
So I have no problem listening to someone who has fruit in their tree, and that's you and the people I've collaborated with. And I didn't take that for granted. I just listened, I applied it. You and I had some, you know, some coaching sessions, and I had to, you know, switch some things up. And as soon as I did that, literally, you know, the next day, we got things rolling. So, yeah, man, everything literally resonated for me.
I wish I could let people in on some of those coaching sessions because you're right. We had to flip some things fully because he was like, Chris was like coach, like like I like this a big step, coach. I tell you what I really want to be able to accomplish, and I know it's gonna I know it would change my life, but coach, what you're asking me to do, I don't know. That's a little tough, coach. That's a little tough. And then I shared a couple things. I had him read a couple things. I had him watch a couple things, and then I said, bro, I ain't here to convince you, but I know you could do it. And if you're
Mhm.
committed, like I asked you, how committed are you? Right? Remember that? How committed
Yes.
are you to reaching that vision? And
Mhm.
he gave me the answer, and I said, that's the right answer. I said, if you're that committed, then I'm gonna give you everything I got, and I know you're gonna get there. And then
Yeah.
you remember that conversation?
Yes. 100%.
Yeah. And then boom, he said, "All right, coach, I trust you. I'm gonna pull that trigger." Boom, he did it. And then just like he said, like within just a couple weeks, now he had his first place. That place generates before rent. How much is it before rent? We said we came up to what was it like 50 something or 60 before rent it generates or something like that a year?
Yeah. Before rent, I think it was like 54,000.
54,000. All right.
Yeah.
So and you also shared with us like when you think about all the time it took you, like if you calculate the number of hours that it took you between looking at this one and other places, how many hours did it take you to pick up that place?
Yeah. I remember we spoke about this too. We kind of did the math on that, and it was, you know.
Yeah.
So, coach, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I can say the same, thankfully.
Yeah, baby. Thank you, Jesus. That's awesome. So I think you got some good news to share with us.
Yeah, we got the keys today, so you know we're in motion.
Like this is the first one, and this is at 80% occupancy. If it's at 85,
$40,530. The process was pretty simple. I guess that's the best way to put it. Once we were just, you know, we put everything on the table. We did do a little bit of I guess negotiating as far as the lease and the addendum, but I guess that was like the most difficult part, and that wasn't even difficult. So yeah, I just followed, you know, simple guidelines, and we got the results. We kind of rounded up, but it was about 10 hours.
about 10 hours.
Yeah.
So if it generates like, let's say $50,000 a year at 10 hours, and that's all the time you put in. And oh, by the way, like, did I have to make some tweaks in some of the things and some of the ways you were doing it in the beginning?
Yes, 100%.
So would it be safe to say you weren't really that good in the beginning? Would it be safe to say that?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
This is
Definitely.
awesome.
I know for sure that, you know, as my process continues, there will be much more than, I mean, much less than 10 hours.
Would it be safer to say that you're a lot better now than you were 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago?
Yeah, it's much better and more confident as well.
Yeah, I love saying it that way. So without being that good, without being without being that good, it still took them only 10 hours to pick up a place that's going to generate $50,000 a year. So that if you do the math, that's $5,000 an hour. Now imagine if he was spending that 10 hours doing things that pretty much anybody else can just do, or he could be paying somebody to do that $10, $20, $30 an hour stuff. Like you wouldn't have his place, right? You'd be too deep in the weeds. What inspired you? Like, what was your big why? What's inspired you to start doing Airbnb and modeling what I do?
I have a lot of reasons I can say, but you did ask my why, and
Yeah.
I just want to be able to provide for my family. I also want to be able to give back to my community. A lot of people that are like me, that that are in my community, that don't have proper guidance, and I know that I'm very relatable, especially because I'm a face that my community knows before my basketball success, right? For I think it's important that I'm able to just give back to the community, because I feel like there are a lot of kids in the inner cities with a lot of skills and abilities that people around them don't know how to bring out. And I think I know that I can be that person. So that's been a big part of my reason.
What would you say? Because you shared something with me too once before, and you talked about as an athlete. Because I know there's a lot of athletes. Like I come from a family of athletes, so ball players, college, pro, and all that stuff. You shared something with me also, and if there was another athlete that was listening to you, what would you want him to know about as from a professional athlete's perspective, why this made a big, like, what was part of your why there?
I tell people this all the time, and this is something I told you in the beginning. Like, I'm I'm smart enough to know at this point in my career and in my life that the ball is going to stop bouncing at some point. So I don't want to retire and have to kind of like figure things out, or sit behind a behind a desk at a 9 to 5, because I've never had a job in my life. So I want to be able to maintain really like my lifestyle of making my own schedule and doing things how I want to do. But more than that is I want to be able to retire really when I want to. I don't want to have to be forced, or, for example, right now I'm recovering from an injury. Thankfully, it wasn't a career-ending injury, but if it was, it's like without this opportunity, it's almost like, what else could I have done to start making money and seeing results? And to be honest, it's not really totally about the money. Obviously, that is important, and there's a million ways to make $1 million. But, this community, the beliefs in this community, it's much deeper than, just making a dollar bill. So a lot of that plays into, what I would tell another athlete, if he was in this position or starting to be in this position.
That's good. Thank you. As you said, it isn't just about the money. Now, we know though, money's a tool, right? And a lot of those things you want to be able to do, if you don't got it, then now you gotta figure it out, right? So it helps. Like I've been in a position where I had no money, and I'm in positions where I have a lot of money. I like having a lot of money a lot better, right? So it's just so much. It's so much more fun, and it also gives us the ability, like those whys that you just talked about, being able to reach those people, like.
Right.
Like it ain't just like your money. What it also does, not only does it bless people when they ain't listening, but it also causes people to listen. When they know that you're someone of some substance, then you got some things that you need to share with them that's going to help and change their life. They're gonna listen to you because you said it, right? You said you're you're okay. You're okay with being able to be around or listen to people who are bearing fruit. You said something like that, right? Who
Yes.
are bearing fruit. And so it's the same. People, that's how we are. And so let me ask you this. And I appreciate you sharing. And then, so with that, before I even mention the next question is, like, as I mentioned, you weren't even that good. And you said it yourself. You said, I'm a lot better. It ain't going to take me 10 hours to get the next one and the next one and the next one. So imagine, like, based on what you know and the resources that you have now, like, over the next 3 to 6 months, how many places do you think you're going to be able to pick up doing with the same kind of revenue?
Be honest, knowing what I know now, and man, I could say, you say the next 3 to 6,
Yeah.
we could range anywhere from, I'd say, the the
You
six
know
to
I'm gonna
ten
hold
mark.
you to it. You know I'm gonna hold you to it too, right? So you better
Yeah, I know that.
you better
That's
come
why I'm
correct
being careful. I'm being careful what I say. I already know.
because I'm gonna
Nah,
push you.
but
I'm gonna be pushing you. Go
yeah,
ahead.
I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. But I could say honestly about maybe like 6 to 10.
6 to 10.
Yeah.
So on the low end, six of those in the next 3 to 6 months, if it's generating 50,000, six of those, six more of those, that's what? Another $300,000 a year. Right? So now in 6 months, you go from zero, knowing nothing in the beginning, to over $300,000 a year in gross revenue. Right? And if it's 10 on the upside, then where you at now? You at roughly around a $500,000. And like that's real. Like you know that's real because you already doing it. You already getting bookings and making money and you just had your how long your listing? How long you said you had your listings now?
About 4 to 5 weeks. I can also say that just in the past like 4 days, I want to say, the property that I have, I already made about $1,300.
$1,300. When
Yeah.
did those listings go live though? When were they live and ready? Because well, you had some
Yeah,
bookings that
we had
you
some.
had some
Yeah,
bookings because you were Puerto Rico, you were in Puerto Rico and you learned some things the hard way. You had to cancel some bookings. Like you
yeah,
got didn't you get bookings like in your first couple of days of having those listings that you had to cancel?
yeah. Literally my first 2 days, I had two that I had to cancel.
Because you didn't know something about the electronics there and you thought you didn't have any power for like a week and you had all you had to do was flip a switch, right?
Yes, yes,
So he had to
yes.
cancel. That was a hard lesson, but yeah, like if you count that, that would have been over $2,000 probably in
Yeah,
bookings that you had. And,
yeah.
or possibly even more because not only did you cancel bookings, but you also closed your calendar out until you figured out what the issue was, trying to get the utility company come out there and turn on your power. And they're like, and then the owner was like, you just gotta turn the switch on, bro. You just gotta turn the switch on.
Yeah, I had my calendar blocked for about 10 days.
Yeah, crazy,
So yeah.
craziness. All right, what would you tell your younger self, knowing what you know today? Like if you were thinking about doing this, and you and I went around a little bit, what would you tell your younger self? It might be your younger self just a month ago, or 2 months ago, or 6 months ago. I don't know how long it was before you were watching my stuff. I think it was relatively new. What would you tell your younger self that was wondering, should I do this or should I not? Like, what would you tell your younger self about starting sooner or like, is this dude crazy or what? What would you tell him?
I would tell myself to trust my gut more. I did let, and this is just me being completely transparent. I did let fear and doubt creep in a little bit. And you and I had a conversation as well in the beginning, like, man, you could actually started this a week or more ago, right? So you and I had that back and forth communication. So I would just tell myself, trust my gut, man. Yeah, I feel like there's no other way to put it.
All
Like I
right,
mentioned earlier, if there's someone who has, fruit in their tree and they're willing to help me out, just be trustworthy.
fruit in the tree. How did the program help you overcome the challenges like funding? I know like we helped you with that. You got some money real fast, right? And
Yes.
help you with that so that you could scale um, finding properties and also what was your biggest change, the biggest change in your life since starting? So those are two. You can answer one or the other or both.
It just allowed me to communicate with other people that are in the same boat as me and people who have already walked the same steps as me. So I
Hmm.
think it was cool to be able to, walk a path that others have already went through, right? So like it was already cleared for me. And I think that's very important because like you mentioned earlier, don't try to do something else or do your own thing if, we have what works. I think the main thing with our program is like the collaboration.
Mm.
If I'm trying to do my own thing in this space. It's like, the blind leading the blind. I don't know what I'm doing. So the
Mm.
fact that we do have the opportunity to have collaborations and have people who are willing to take their time out to help me learn and help me get, things optimized and things like that, I'm super, super grateful.
What advice would you have for someone who sees themselves like that you were in their shoes maybe 3 months, 6 months ago, and they're considering possibly even trying to work with me, like maybe even doing the application or get through the application, like what advice would you give someone?
I would say go for it. Don't hold back. Don't overthink. Opportunities like this don't come to you by accident. And I'm a firm believer in that, right? I just say, take that leap. Take that leap because everyone in this community wants the best for you. They have fruit on their tree and they're willing to help you, grow the fruit on your tree. So you can do the same for others, right? So the way I look at it is, one hand washes the other and they both wash the face, right? So it's a great community. It's a great opportunity and it's literally a no-brainer. There's not really too many other situations where you can come get this type of information and have the community as well. Normally it's one or the other, right? And I can say that as a professional athlete, I've literally played all over the world, been a part of many different teams. I played sports literally at the highest level. I was just in the Olympics. This community is amazing. This opportunity is amazing. And this is something I would, recommend everyone to be a part of.
I think, didn't you get your first bookings when weren't you on vacation? Or you were doing something when you got your first bookings. I know you weren't around, that's for sure.
Yep, I was outside of Puerto Rico for a few days and we got the ball rolling. So to be honest, I'm actually not even in Puerto Rico right now. And I've had 3 bookings in the last few days. So I feel like there's no, geographical boundaries to how we operate.
Let's go. That's what I'm talking about. Regardless of where you are in the world, you'll have Airbnb making electronic funds transfers into your account. Have you started getting your electronic funds transfers, Chris?
Oh yeah.
It's nice, ain't it? Electronic funds transfers into your account. You don't have to ask nobody for no money. They're coming in every day, and then
yes.
and it doesn't matter where you are in the world. The business is there to support the vision God's given you for your life and your family. Give it up for Chris. Man, I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
I'm proud of you.